Some celebrities just let fame get to their heads and then no one wants to work with them anymore. Now, this has happened to so many celebs. Like, there's always been rumors that Lea Michele was hard to work with on the set of Glee. But they were really confirmed in 2020 when fellow co-stars called her out for being mistreated by her. It appears that a lot of the main cast don't even speak to Lea anymore. Now, later that year, Heather Morris spoke out about Lea, saying, "Was she unpleasant to work with? Very much so. For Lea to treat others with the disrespect that she did for as long as she did, I believe that she should be called out, and yet it's also on us, because to allow it to go on for so long without speaking out is something we're learning along with the rest of society." Then in 2021 she revealed, "We absolutely could have stepped up and gone to the Fox execs and said how we felt about the situation, but no one did. I think many people were very scared, and I know genuinely I felt like it wasn't my place, and I don't know why, because I was a cast member," she said. Now, Heather then added that the only person honest about Lea's attitude on Glee was the late Naya Riviera. In Naya's 2016 memoir, she claimed that their relationship started to break down because her character began getting bigger plot lines and more screen time. Naya said, "I think Rachel, Lea, didn't like sharing the spotlight," which isn't that surprising. Naya claims that things got so bad that the two were barely speaking by the end of her time on the show. Now, insiders also say that Lea made unreasonable demands on the set of Glee, which included having her own makeup artist and food catered from LA restaurants. Now, according to the rumors, she's even been known to mock fans behind their backs. Now, Chevy Chase has quite a reputation in Hollywood. He was an original member of Saturday Night Live and was on the show for 2 years. While on the show, there were rumblings of him being difficult to work with and just straight up egotistical. After leaving, he came onto the show to host 8 times. However, his 8th time hosting would be his last after it was learned that Chevy hit a cast member in the back of the head. Creator and producer Lorne Michaels ended up banning Chevy from coming on the show, but he later returned for smaller roles. Then there was his time on the show Community. He ended up using a racial slur during an on-set rant about his character arc, which resulted in him walking off set. Chevy also never had a good relationship with showrunner Dan Harmon. Now, after Chevy refused to film an important scene in season 3, Dan reportedly called him out at a wrap party. Chevy then left an angry voicemail on the showrunner's phone, and due to this, he made a deal with NBC, and his character was killed off the show, and that was that. Now, it since appears that he has a difficult time getting roles as his reputation is so bad. Although Marlon Brando was a Hollywood legend starting in countless iconic films, the more successful he got in his career, the harder it was to work with him. The Island of Dr. Moreau is famously one of the most chaotic films ever made, both in terms of the movie itself, but also the shooting process. Now, part of this was due to the behavior of Marlon, who would mostly just stay in his trailer, quote, eating copious amounts of pizza and not opening the door to anyone. When he did come out to shoot some scenes, however, he insisted on doing things his way, which included him wearing all white face paint, wearing a dress, and having an ice bucket strapped to the top of his head. Now, he also got very attached to actor Nelson De La Rosa, one of the shortest men of the last 2 centuries, measuring under 28 inches tall. Now, speaking about Marlon just doing whatever he wanted, director John Frankenheimer said, "Brando absolutely fell in love with this guy. He put him on his chest in the hammock and sang Frog 1 accounting to him. There was 90 minutes of that. This is all I can persuade Brando to do." In general, though, he often refused to memorize his lines and would force the actors to wear cue cards to help him with his lines. Now, this is absolutely crazy that people would even put up with this. Now, Alec Baldwin has quite a temper, which has led to many outbursts and people not wanting to work with him. There were a lot of reports during the show 30s Rock that Alec was often late and held up production. He used to yell at the crew and cast, and had a habit to complain about ridiculous things like the air being too dry. Cheyenne Jackson, who was working with him on 30 Rock, once said, "What I learned from him was really good comedic timing and don't get in his light." Now, from getting in fights with the paparazzi and cast members, a lot of people won't hire him, especially after what happened on the Rust movie set. Now, in 2007, a voicemail that he left for his young daughter was leaked where he was yelling at her and called her a rude, thoughtless little pig for not answering a scheduled phone call, and said she had humiliated him for the last time. Then in 2011, Alec was kicked off an American Airlines flight after he refused to turn off his cell phone when crew members asked him to. A statement posted to the American Airlines Facebook page read, "The passenger was extremely rude to the crew, calling them inappropriate names and using offensive language." So yeah, if that's how he acts in public and in the privacy of his own home, I'm sure he's horrible on set too. Daniel Day-Lewis is known for his dedication to method acting, but honestly, a lot of the time he went too far, which made working with him extremely difficult. When he was playing a man who suffered from cerebral palsy in the film My Left Foot, he had to be lifted to his car every morning and driven to the studio, where he'd be transported into a wheelchair and taken onto the set. Now, they would even have to carry him in his wheelchair over cables to get to the actual set. Now, this would be repeated at the end of the day of filming, and he'd be taken to restaurants around Dublin and insist on being spoon-fed like his character would have been. Now, he also refused to call anyone by their name or be called by anything but his character. Now, this was extremely prevalent with his film Lincoln, where he played Abraham Lincoln. He made the cast and crew call him Mr. President, and even the director Steven Spielberg had to call him that too. Now, apparently this went on for the entire length of production, and he didn't break character for 3 months. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who played Lincoln's son, said of the actor, "I never met Daniel in person, I only ever met the president. I called him sir, he called me Robert." Now, Bill Murray has been in the industry for a long time, but it's a shocker that people still want to work with him after all these stories that have come out against him. Now, Bill was not behaving properly while on the set of Groundhog Day. Now, Bill was so fed up with the studio and the director that he would dodge phone calls, be late to shoots, and just straight up ignore them all. Now, the communication between himself, the studio, and director Harold Ramis was so poor that they suggested Bill get an assistant to deal with all of that. So he hired a personal assistant that was profoundly deaf, did not have oral speech, spoke only American Sign Language, which Bill did not speak, nor did anyone else in the production, Harold told Entertainment Weekly. But Bill said, "Don't worry, I'm going to learn sign language," and I think it was so inconvenient that in a couple of weeks he gave that up. Yeah, that sounds like it would make things extremely difficult. Then there's the fact that Bill didn't always get along with his co-stars, including Lucy Liu, who called out the star a couple years ago. And Mike Myers is well known for starring in Shrek and Cat in the Hat, but it said that he was very difficult to work with. It said that he had a powerful hold on the production of Cat in the Hat, and he was afforded a level of control and freedom to do whatever he wanted, as his co-star Amy Hill remembered. According to Amy, Mike even had a man whose sole responsibility was to hold his chocolates for him and bring him them when he wanted some. She said, "It was just a horrible, nightmarish experience. I don't think Mike got to know anybody. He'd just be with his people and walk away. People would come and he'd stand there. There was a guy who held his chocolates in a little Tupperware. Whenever he needed chocolate, he'd come running over and give him a chocolate. That's what divas are like, I guess. Or people who need therapy," she said. That sounds absolutely crazy, and it's been said that Mike feels the need to have control over everything on set, which makes it difficult for people to do their jobs. Well, that's all for our list of entitled celebrities no one wants to work with and why. Now, who do you think is the worst on this list? Let us know in the comments down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. I'm your host Emily, and we'll see you next time. Peace.